Hello and welcome to Introduction to Arduino. In this video, we're going to look what is Arduino, why are we going to use Arduino, and is Arduino enough for the project that we are planning to do, and we'll finally look at some of the demo that is out there in the internet. So let's start by the introduction of Arduino. So Arduino is a microcontroller board that is developed by an Italian company. So when we say Arduino, there are various kind of Arduino board. So one of the board is Arduino Uno. So this is Arduino Uno. We also have Arduino Nano. We also have Arduino Mega. And not only these three, so there are like many more boards out there, which is made by the company Arduino. So in general, the purpose of all these boards is to facilitate the use of the microcontroller that is there in the board. So this board helps us to use this microcontroller and make it easy for us to use it. So this nano board will help us to use the microcontroller, which is the square shaped chip in here. So this board will help us to use this square shaped chip in this board. So the objective of this board is to make the use of this microcontroller easy to use. So what is microcontroller then? So all these boards have a microcontroller. A microcontroller is a small computer which has got its own processing unit, it has got its own ALU, which has got its own memory. So microcontroller is a small computer. All these microcontrollers will have its own processing unit, it has got its own memories, it has got its own input and output devices. So all these Arduino board will help us to use those microcontrollers. Now, what can these microcontroller do? So these microcontroller can sense the environment, it can control the devices, it can monitor the environment with the help of sensors, and it can do many more other tasks. So the board that we are going to use is Arduino Uno. So this is the board that we are going to use. So if you look, this is actually the board that we are going to use, Arduino Uno. And it has got a bunch of features like USB interface, analog inputs, digital inputs and outputs. So we will see later on what are these feature about. And let's look at the board now. So this is the board, right? And the board physically looks like this. There are a bunch of header pins here. So these are all the header pins. You can see in the board itself, we have the header pins all here. We have the pins here. We have pins here, right? And we have a USB cable here. So let's start by some of the important features. So the first pin is serial in pin. So this is a serial in pin, and the second pin is a serial out pin. So serial in and serial out pin is normally used when we want to connect our board to the, let's say another devices like computer, right? So we'll see later on how to use these pins. So there are digital pins from pin number 2 all the way to pin number 13. So all these pins here are the digital pins, and these are the pins where we will connect our maybe our sensors or maybe our appliances or maybe the signal that we send to turn on or turn off some of the appliances. So we will again see later on in the hands-on exercise like how to use these pins. And this is a ground pin. We will use this ground pin to connect or connect a ground to one of the sensors that we are using or any other appliances that we are using. There's a reset button here. So reset button is basically used when we want to start over whatever this microcontroller board is doing. For example, if you want this microcontroller to blink an LED at the interval of, let's say, every 5 seconds and then 10 seconds and then 20 seconds in that order, then if you want to do everything from the start, then maybe you can hit the reset button and start everything again from the beginning, like 5 seconds and then again 10 seconds and then again 20 seconds, right? So that's what the reset button is. Now you have a USB port. So this is the USB port here. A USB port in this board serves two functions. So one is the using this USB board with the USB cable like this, one in go to computer and then this in is connecting to the board here. So with the help of this cable, you can transfer the code that you have written for a microcontroller to do. And second, this USB port also serves as a source of power to this board, right? Now, if you don't have access to USB port, then you have an external DC supply. You can connect your board to the power supply or to the battery through this DC supply port. Right? So this is another source of power supply. Now, there are a bunch of power pins. Again, these power pins can be used to connect some external devices to your board to provide power to some external devices. And then there are like bunch of analog pins. So these analog pins are used to connect the analog sensors. For example, maybe a temperature sensor is something that you want to use to monitor the temperature, and you can feed the output of your temperature sensor to one of these pins, and this is the way for your microcontroller board to read the analog value, and then it will convert it into the computer readable format, and that way you can do your processing of your analog data. And this long black chip again is a microcontroller, and the whole purpose of this board is to use this microcontroller. So again, there is an LED here. So this LED is something that we will use later on in our hands-on exercise lab to see how to control it, how to blink it, so that kind of activities. Um, this is a power on LED, so this indicates that your board is supplied with power. So these are some of the important pins that we have just seen. So apart from these pins, there are like other components in this board which is needed for this board to work properly. So why Arduino, right? So it is easy to use. You can upload the code and program your microcontroller with just a computer and a wire, right? So you don't need any other kind of breadboard or connection to have it working. So this is very simple to or easy to use. So another advantage is everything is in this one board, right? So if you look at this board, like I said earlier, it has got a bunch of other components, right? So it has got an oscillator, it has got a power supply, it has got a bunch of transistors, it has got a bunch of resistors. So all these components are needed in order to use this microcontroller. So if you were not using this board, then you would have to use a breadboard to connect all these components before you can start using the microcontroller. So the advantage of Arduino is that everything is in this one board, so you don't have to connect all the other components in a breadboard. So it is just simple and easy to use. Another advantage is it has got a lot of extra add-on hardware available. So what I mean by that is if you want your Arduino to control a bunch of motors, let's say different kind of motors, then you will need a motor driver. You will need a power circuitry to run the motor. So you need a lot of different stuff to get that motor working. So with the help of Arduino, the advantage is that you have an add-on hardware available. Right? So something like this. So you have an add-on hardware that will simply connect on top of your Arduino board, and that will just make easy connection to all the motors. So it is as simple as it is. So this is another advantage. So not only the motors, right? So you can have another extra hardware that connects to your Arduino, and that will help us to connect to the internet. That may help you to connect to the Bluetooth or any other. And there are like many different kind of extra add-on hardware that will make your project easier to implement, right? Now, another advantage is it is an open source, so which means it has got a lot of community support. So if you are stuck at some problem and you want to quickly search on the internet, then it is most likely that you will find your solution out there in the internet. So it has got a big community who uses the Arduino board. So that way you'll have a lot of support in the internet. Now, let's look at a example project, and let's see what are the steps that we need to implement this project and how do we achieve the task, right? So let's say it is a, sunny day and then the temperature is rising. So our objective here is to monitor the temperature of your house with the help of this Arduino board and with the help of Arduino board and the sensor, of course. And once the temperature hits greater than 80 degrees Celsius, then you want to turn on the fan, right, automatically without any human intervention. And if the temperature falls below 72 degrees, then all you need to do is turn off the fan, right? If the temperature hits 80 degrees, then you want to turn on the fan. And if the temperature is below 72 degrees, then you don't want to turn on the fan. You just want to off the fan. So all these tasks should be done automatically with the help of Arduino board and sensors, right? So now let's see what are the steps that you need to take in order to implement this project. So the first step would be to write a code, right? So writing a code is basically providing a set of instruction to the Arduino. So you want to tell your Arduino that you want to monitor the temperature from the sensor, and based on the information from the sensor, you want to turn on the fan or turn off the fan. So these instructions are basically written in a programming language with the help of Arduino IDE. And this Arduino IDE is a software which will help you to transfer the code to the Arduino itself, right? So once you have written the code, next step would be to transfer the code to the Arduino with the help of the USB cable and a Arduino IDE. So once you have transferred the code or transferred the instruction to the microcontroller board or to the Arduino board, the next step would be to wire up your setup, right? So wiring up the setup means you want to probably place the temperature sensor in some location in your house, and also you want to connect a wire to a fan so that your Arduino can send the information to turn on or turn off to the fan, right? So once you have the wire set up, the final step would be to power up your Arduino, right? So you want to supply power to the Arduino board, you want to supply power to a fan, and at this point, your system is all set up, right? So basically, the steps that you need to perform is writing the code. So you need to write the instructions for your Arduino to perform. Next, you want to transfer that instruction to the Arduino board, and you want to wire up your Arduino with all the sensors and all the wires that you want to perform in your project. And then finally, you want to power up your board to have your system running, right? So these are the steps that you need to perform. All right, so Arduino works well for most of the starting projects. So in this workshop, whatever project that you guys will be coming up with, most likely it can be done with the Arduino. But in order to have a good sense of what can you achieve with using the Arduino, I would recommend you guys to go to hackster.io or youtube.com or simply Google the Arduino Uno projects and look for other people's project that using this Arduino Uno board, which is what you guys are working on. All right, so thank you for your attention, and I'll see you in next video.